one that will be ere the set of sun. You wear the peace. Here to meet with Macbeth. I come, Grey Malkin. The calls. Anon. Fear is found, and found is fear. Hover through the fog and filthy air.
This is my favorite Shakespeare opening scene. The audio you heard is from BBC Radio Shakespeare. I just love the sound, the voice harmony, and it's so atmospheric it makes the hair stand up at the back of my neck. I really, really love it. Hi, it's Nicole. Today's reading journal entry is Macbeth. I just read it a couple of days ago, and I knew very little about Macbeth before this. I knew that there's somebody called Macbeth, and he met 3 witches, and Macbeth had a wife called Lady Macbeth, and Lady Macbeth is this intimidating, hard-hearted figure that's now in part of the everyday language. People say so-and-so spoke like Lady Macbeth. So something I didn't know is that was how Lady Macbeth was like at the beginning of the play. Later on, she turned into something quite different. But when we say somebody spoke like Lady Macbeth, we usually mean the first part of how she was. She behaved quite differently later on, especially after Macbeth murdered Duncan the King. She was not quite hard-hearted as she wished. Talking about being hard-hearted, to behave like a man, there's a lot you can talk about from Macbeth. There are lots of interesting themes. For example, manhood and what is it to be like a man. There's a different understandings within the play. At the beginning, for example, Lady Macbeth persuaded Macbeth to kill Duncan by basically saying, are you a man or are you a coward? Are you going to do this or not? And then she asked whoever she was speaking to, the higher power, to make her a man. She said, unsex me. And her understanding of to be a man is to be cruel, to be ambitious in a way that whatever is in your way, just get rid of them. Be bloody, be cruel, be cold-hearted, and have no mercy. And later on, when Macduff, when his family was all killed, his understanding of how to be a man is quite different. He had feelings, he had emotions, he loves. And when his family were killed, he grieved for them. And so that's one interesting topic. Another interesting topic is sleep. So because Macbeth murdered Duncan the King when he was sleeping, so he ever since had problems sleeping, and Lady Macbeth had problems sleeping as well. Especially later on, there's a very well-known, I presume well-known, I didn't know this, scene of her sleepwalk. She felt so guilty about persuading Macbeth to kill the king. She relived the night and the blood on her hand. My favorite lines from the whole play is about sleep. I think it's really lovely. It says, the innocent sleep, sleep that knits up the ravelled sleeve of care, the death of each day's life, sore labour's bath, balm of hurt minds, great nature's second course, chief nourisher in life's feast. I just really love that image that every day you have so much care. It's like a piece of garment. A piece of garment is another theme. Imagery comes up in Macbeth a lot as well. So each day you have this piece of garment you wear, and there's so much care and worry and concern that by the end of the day, the sleeve unravels because it's so worn. But sleep at the end of the day knits up the raveled sleeve of care. I just really love that image. Sleeve kind of make something raveling whole. It's the death of each day's life. So by the end of the day, you basically die, and in the morning you wake up again and live another day's life. You refresh you, it's like a bath, and the comforts you, it's like a balm. And he says it's nature's second course. Second course is the main course, so after the starter. And the chief nourisher in life's feast. So if life is a feast, sleep is the main thing that nourish your life. It's not love coming from Shakespeare. It's not love. It's not even reading. It's sleep. I just really love that. Sleep is the chief nourisher in life's feast. There's a lot to talk about, but today we'll only talk about the witches called 3 Weird Sisters and their prophecies. So there are roughly 2 rounds of prophecies. The first round, this is straight after Macbeth just had a victory on the battlefield and on the way back to see Duncan the King. And they met these 3 weird sisters, and they say, "Oh, hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Glamis." And the second witch say, "Oh, hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor." The third said, "Oh, hail Macbeth, that shall be king hereafter." So these are the three prophecies. Well, these are the two prophecies because Macbeth is Thane of Glamis already. That's where he lives, where his castle is. And Thane of Cawdor and the king hereafter are the two prophecies. And the witches also made a prophecy concerning Banquo. They said, "Thou shalt get kings, though thou be none." As in, you will get kings, as in you will give birth, not him personally, to many kings, generations of kings to come, but you yourself will not be a king. So this is the third prophecy. So basically the witches said Macbeth will become Thane of Cawdor and become king, and Banquo will get kings. The first one became true immediately. As soon as these witches disappeared, a group of messengers came to Macbeth and Banquo, said, "Greetings from the king, Macbeth. Well done for fighting such a good battle and won. The king want to give you the title of Thane of Cawdor." Thane is like a Scottish nobleman. He now given the second title, the Thane of Cawdor, because the first prophecy became true immediately, and that made Macbeth believe that the second one will become true as well, and that led to all the following murders, I'd say. And the interesting question is, would Macbeth have become king if he didn't hear the prophecies and didn't go on murdering everybody? Has Macbeth chosen his fate, or is the fate all planned out for him regardless what he does or what he doesn't do? That's the most interesting thing. Well, that's what interests me most. Just imagine if the weird sisters didn't turn up in front of them and didn't say a word. They just went back to the king after the battle. They won. Macbeth will get the title of Thane of Cawdor anyway because the king has decided it already. Will he then become king anyway in some other ways? So in summary, Macbeth believed the first and the second prophecy because they made him more powerful and influential. They made him king. And obviously he didn't like the third one because that basically said, you are going to be king, all right, but you are not having any sons and they are not going to be kings. All the kings after you are going to be from Banquo. And obviously Macbeth didn't like that because what did he kill Duncan for? For other people's children. So he asked the weird sisters about this prophecy again. He summoned them a second time saying, "Tell me more about it." And then the weird sister showed him 8 kings and one of them carrying a mirror showing millions of them in the mirror, and they all came from Banquo. So what I'm most interested is when this was first performed in Shakespeare's day, what did this scene look like on stage? Did 8 people just walk one by one onto the stage and across and off again? I think that would be a bit boring. I'll read you the section when Macbeth saw this vision, and then we can see how he might look like. Macbeth said, "Thou art too like the spirit of Banquo. Down, thy crown does sear my eyeballs, and thy hair, thou other gold-bound brow, is like the first. A third is like the former. Filthy hags, why do you show me this? A fourth, start, eyes. What, will the line stretch out to the crack of dawn? Another yet, a seventh, I'll see no more, and yet the 8th appears, who bears a glass which shows me many more, and some I see, that twofold bows and triple scepters carry. Horrible sight, now I see 'tis true, for the blood-bolted Banquo smells upon me, and points at them for heat." Sorry about my reading, this probably ruined the whole experience of Shakespeare, but bear with me. I'm just very curious, how did Shakespeare direct this scene? If you know, please let me know. I'm very, very interested. When Macbeth summoned the weird sisters for a second time, he didn't just ask about Banquo, he asked about himself as well. He said, tell me more, tell me more. So they gave him 3 more prophecies. The first one basically says, beware of Macduff, because Macduff has been leading this army, trying to basically overthrow Macbeth rule, and Macduff has gone to England to join Malcolm, who is the son of Duncan. They're going to come back in revenge, basically. So beware of Macduff. The second one says, be blood, bold and resolute. Laugh to scorn the power of man, for none of woman born shall harm Macbeth. Basically, anybody who is born of a woman he can't harm you. And the third one says, Macbeth shall never vanquished be until great Birnam Wood to high Dunsinane Hill shall come against him. There is a forest outside Macbeth Castle called Birnam Wood. So this prophecy says, unless the Birnam Wood comes and moves to your castle, you will be safe. As soon as I read this last one, I thought, ooh, this is the Lord of the Rings. The trees are going to walk and move to the castle. Do you think Tolkien was inspired by this scene when he wrote The Lord of the Rings? And this second one, when he says, for none of woman born shall harm Macbeth. And I was thinking, ooh, who is going to kill Macbeth then? Let's think of something clever. Is this actually a woman who is going to kill Macbeth? Maybe even Lady Macbeth is going to kill her husband. Or maybe it's some wild animals. There might be still wolves at that time in England. Who knows? But in the end, it turned out that Macduff was born of a C-section. He was a C-section baby. And that doesn't count as born of a woman. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Why, if a baby was born of a C-section, he's not born of a woman? Surely he still comes out of a woman, of his mother. Anyway, that was an anticlimax to me. I was really expecting something spectacular. Last thing, I really love the witches' language, their lines, probably because they rhyme a bit more than the rest. That's my level of poetry, I'm sorry, but I really loved when they appear. Their lines really atmospheric. For example, when they first appear in Act 1, Scene 1, fair is foul and foul is fair, hover through the fog and filth the air. And later on, when they appeared again, double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. I happened to watch Harry Potter and The Prisoner of Azkaban again after I read Macbeth. And I never noticed this at the very beginning when they first entered the Great Hall before they had their feast. There was a choir. Do you remember there was a choir scene? They were singing. I never noticed this because I was always too distracted by the toads. But now I've read Macbeth, I actually noticed they were singing the witch lines, the witches' lines. They were singing double, double, toil and trouble. I couldn't quite make out the rest of the lines, but they were definitely singing these lines. This is so exciting. I never noticed this before. And that ends our video today on this high note. Macbeth in Harry Potter. Who knew? Who knew? It was not in the book. It was in this film. So that's my reading journal entry today. I'm really glad I did this. I never done anything for Shakespeare before. I just didn't think I'm qualified enough. I know enough to do a video for my Shakespeare reading, but I thought I'll give it a try. And I think it's beneficial. I have learned a lot from doing all the research and all the digging in preparation for this video than if I just read it and then put it away. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you would give Macbeth a go as well if you haven't. Many of you probably have already because this is probably in GCSE. Even my husband read it before. But I haven't. But this is a great experience. I will move on to Romeo and Juliet next month just because the audiobook has become available in my library. So I will report to you on that as well when I finish. So thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. See you next time. Bye.